Have you ever wondered what is the key to unlock business growth and more profitability for you and your business? On today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about business management maturity and personal growth and how it influences and has a great effect on your ability to make more money tomorrow from learning today. Enjoy.
How old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast. Welcome to you if you're in YouTube land. Thanks so much for dropping in. Really appreciate it. Appreciate all the love I get as well. We couldn't do it without you. And of course, it's why we do what we do here at the Business for Builders podcast. As usual, like and subscribe. If you want to chat with me on email, max@elitebusinessadvisory.com. If you want to drop a comment below, if you're on YouTube, do that. We'll respond ASAP. And look, if you want to chat with me briefly about, what is the ups and downs and the ins and outs of business coaching for general contractors and builders, get across to Elite Business Advisory, hit the book a consultation button and come and chat with me. I'll give you 30 minutes complimentary. Okay, we call it a complimentary coaching session. We'll talk about you and your business, and it's a great way to get some context around maybe what you're doing well, what you're doing not so well, where the gaps are, and maybe some solutions. So get after that. All right, today, as usual, steak and potatoes. If you don't know me, if you've just found me, you've just dropped in, you're either on the podcast, you're on YouTube. I'm going to give you a little bit of my background, and I'm going to quickly jump into some of this stuff that's behind me on the board, which I know some of you that have been watching for a long time, you may have heard me talk about this kind of subject, but I've got something, I like to try and build these episodes with some level of continuity, and I need to just put a brick on top of a brick on top of a brick. We're all builders here, of course. But if you've not met me before, I've been in the building game about 35 years. I've run building companies both in Australia and also now in Canada, and it was something that just dawned on me only this morning was like, okay, so the two largest contracts that I've ever written personally that I've built, both over $1 million each. So I've done one in Australia and one in Canada. I'm sure there's a lot of other builders in my audience that have done more than I have, but it just gives you some understanding as to the time that I've been in the industry and the depth at which we, where we like to play. And I personally like to play in that $750,000 and up because there's just, it requires, it's more complex, it requires more attention to detail. We've got a really good infrastructure, me having a business partner that likes to spend all of his time out on the building sites and in hardware stores, which suits me. And he doesn't want to come into the office and do my job. So that's kind of where we're positioned. I've had a bit of a background in franchising. I've been both a franchisee and a franchisor, and so I've got some really good understanding around the dynamics inside of a business. And then, of course, I'm a business coach, podcaster, etc. Been married for 30 years and a father of 6 kids. So there you go. There's Maxie in a nutshell. So if you didn't know that already, hopefully that gives you some context. Right. Today, I want to talk to you about the fact that you are your most valuable resource, okay? You are the driver, you are the lead dog. Now, I don't care if you're just working a job as a carpenter and in the back of your mind, you're like, you know what? I'm going to get my builder's license and I'm going to run my own building company. Good, I'm talking to you. I don't care if you've been in the game for 20 years and maybe you're a little bit disillusioned with the industry. Well, I know how that feels as well. So, what we always want to focus on is a fresh start at some level, because I think with the fresh start is a result of going, hang on a minute, there must be a better way, okay? And so, you've heard me say the more you learn, the more you earn, all that sort of stuff. I'm going to drill down on that a little bit today. Really, I think learning fuels earning. And I just think, and it doesn't happen, well, I'm going to learn something today and tomorrow I'm going to make more money. Can it happen? It could. Is that normally how it happens? Not from my experience, okay? And so, really knowledge is going to expand your capability. What I talk to a lot of guys about is that the reason they aren't experiencing success is because of their capability or their bandwidth, okay? And so what you're doing by learning is you're starting to understand some of the dynamics, some of the principles, some of the foundation stones, and that's what then will help you elevate your own ability to make money in the industry. So it creates better decision making, leadership, and of course, profitability. That's where we want to be. So, I think what I'm going to focus on here is all about you as a person, because then the next thing we're going to talk about on the next episode is going to be, some of the core, I don't want to say departments, but the core aspects of your business that really drive operations and, more importantly, profitability. And then we're going to talk about financial management, a couple of episodes from now. So this is kind of, for me, as I craft these episodes, I don't want to just fill, 20 or 30 minutes, of my time and your time and just put this out for kicks and giggles. We really want to make it constructive. We are constructors. We are builders. We are people that create something from raw materials and we turn it into something that's beautiful, that's appreciated by our clients, that gives us satisfaction for doing what we do. And so as it relates to you, the person, what we want to make sure is that we are very strategic in how we build ourselves and our business. And of course, if you've heard me talk about strategy, when we do strategic planning, all that is applying limited resources to unlimited potential, okay? There's heaps and heaps of work going on in your neck of the woods, I would bet, okay? But what we got to figure out is how do we trap some of that and take advantage of the opportunity and really create some profitability and, of course, lifestyle. Right. Education's the foundation for longevity, consolidation, and future expansion. You've heard me talk about that you're in a state of consolidation or you're in a state of expansion. You cannot be in both. You also need to be able to consolidate your current situation. Consolidation just means to make strong that which you have, okay? So make sure all the boxes are ticked. You've got good cash at bank. Expansion is going to take expansion capital. Always keep that in mind. And that's where I see builders, they're way too optimistic. I know from my experience, I've been too optimistic. Thought everything was going to go really well and it kind of didn't. And then all of a sudden you run out of cash, so you find yourself going from expansion, now you're retracting. You're really coming back, and so it's important that we understand our position currently, knowing which phase of play we're in, and knowing some of the criteria when it's the right time to move from consolidation into expansion. So that's point one. I better write that on the board. Learning fuels earning. Of course, I remember when I was growing up and I was doing an apprenticeship, just about every second day I'd come home and tell mum and dad, I've learned this today and I've learned that, and it's really interesting. And so what that does is it confirms or really denies whether or not you've got a passion for the industry, because if you don't find the learning experience exciting, then what will happen is it will soon expose the lack of passion you have for that vocation, whatever it might be, okay? So it's always a good way. Like for me, as a 52-year-old, someone that's been in the game 35 years, it's gone through, different evolutions, both in two countries, and I still stand here today and think it is the best game in the world. It's because I love to, certainly with technology in the last 12 months, 2 years, it's really just exploded as far as the opportunity for you and I to build a better business, a more streamlined business, more delegation, more systemization, more reach, okay? And so, something that I'm doing today, figuratively, like I say, I'm doing it today, we're underway, is that we're based here in Vernon, British Columbia, and we've got an operation happening in Nanaimo, which is about 400 k's away. It's about a 7-hour road trip. I've got to get on a ferry and go across from Vancouver downtown, from Richmond there across to Nanaimo or Victoria. And so, I think whilst we're doing that, because that's the way the opportunity came up and we're able to apply some resources to that, that's the kind of thing that most people will never do. And so as part of, what it does is it puts pressure on me as a business coach, because that's a massive challenge. To open up let's call it an office or a branch or a division, that's 400 k's away is just some next level shit. Okay, now can I guarantee you that I'm going to be successful? Absolutely not. Am I going to go broke doing it? Definitely not. Am I very conscious of looking at the red flags and the green flags? 100%. And so, if that's the kind of, if you want to be sort of in a position where you're learning from someone that's doing it, you could probably learn something from good old me. And this is why we do what we do, And so, when you're talking about, I want to build something, it's not like that I'm doing something that's majestically different. or that's esoteric and completely off the planet. It is uncommon because a lot of us, you and me, find it difficult just to build a company in our own backyard, let alone put a division together that's 400 Ks away. There's all kinds of shit to worry about down there. Don't worry. Like, you know, if you've got, and this is why I think when I talk about systems and people, what's going to make that work down there is going to be systems and people. Because you've got to have the right people on the bus, sitting in the right seats, behaving the right way, and you've got to have the systems, because systems create accountability. If you've got the right humans that use the systems, occasionally they might step out and color outside the lines. You can use those systems to bring accountability and correction, and then we move forward. Or it exposes the people who've got a bad attitude and don't want to comply. It's your business, your system, your reputation, your risk. The rules that you create must be adhered to. If they don't, those individuals can get off your island. They can get off my island, okay? And so that is just one little aspect of learning, okay? Right, so brings you into the next thing. We want to build the person before we build the business. Okay, I think that if you build the person, what I've seen guys that have built the business and not the person. And what they've done is they've outrun their supply line. It was funny. I might have told this story a couple of weeks ago. I was at the home show and just a random person come up and said, "Oh, we're across the road from one of your franchisees building a job on the lake down there." And I would yell out and tell him to shut up because he'd just spend his whole time shouting at people. And that's a guy that's insecure and that's out of control. And so this is why build the person first before you want to build the business. Now, we've got to make money, so that's why we're in a state of consolidation. If you are focused on building the human first, then we've just got to keep things ticking away over here, right, at a moderate level, at a controlled level. Remember, the byproduct of disorder is chaos. What we want to do is play in the world of control, and a byproduct of order is control. So if you feel like you're in chaos, it's because there is disorder in your business. If you feel like you've got some consolidation, you've expanded, you've got some order, that's because you've got control. It's because you've got order within your business. Now, for you to have order within your business, guess what? You've got to be in order yourself. You have got to be in control of yourself. You have got to know what you are doing. And it's very cliche and you can just spit it out real quick. But I'm telling you, if you can just grab hold of this fundamental, it'll help you to be patient as well. Because you can't just jam a USB into your head and download all this crap that Max talks about and make you a better business owner. We've actually got to walk the trail. We're pioneers in our own little world. And this is why I say the best commodity for you to invest in is yourself, is your learning. Because you are going to go there, but me, I go. Like, you're going to be with you for the duration of this life, okay? And if it is to be, there's an element that is, the responsibility is on you to develop and to grow. And that's what we're talking about. And I think it's very cliche too. Personal growth and all that sort of stuff. And I get it. A lot of books I've read, etc. But I think, going from a head knowledge into executing in real life, because it sounds like, well, because I learned it and I read it and I know it, when I go out there and execute, I'm going to do it right. Whereas that's not the case. You're going to get wobbly, okay? And things are going to happen that kind of go against what you initially thought was going to be the case. And it's at that point where you've got to go and reconcile between learning and executing are two different things. And it doesn't matter that it's funny, I was rehearsing on Sunday with this other band I'm playing with, and there's one song which I know. There's videos out there with me playing it. I know how to play it. And at that rehearsal, for some reason, I kept dropping the ball. Now, it's not that I can't play guitar. It's just that for that moment in time, I kept making mistakes. Happens, right? So if it can happen in that regard, it'll certainly happen in your business and in my business as well. So what we're sort of leaning towards is that the business can't outgrow the person running it. It can, but it won't be sustained, let's say. Growth starts with mindset, discipline, and a willingness to evolve. So like I said, when you go out there and you drop the ball and make mistakes, understand it's part of your evolution. Because those painful points, that you don't forget those. okay? They don't leave you in a hurry. They are reminders as to where you may have done things not so well and that where you can bring some correction and improve. And then every business problem is ultimately, it's a personal development challenge. Everything that I'm going to face, everything that I face in business is a challenge for me to evolve. See, if I just go, I wish it wasn't the case, what you've just done is you've relinquished your control or access to the solution. So this is the challenges on you and me. So it's you don't just sit in a classroom, learn it and go and execute perfectly. It just doesn't happen that way. You take away some of that dot point knowledge, but learning is one thing. It's executing and doing it well normally is going to take you a few times. It's why we go to rehearsal. We rehearse together. I practice at home and then I go to rehearsal. Now, practicing with the record is one thing, but going and rehearsing with a bunch of other moving parts and humans, completely different dynamic. So the foundation stone is to learn the song, learn your parts. The next thing is now to everyone brings their learning together and coordinates it and does it and executes well. And more often than not, we don't execute like the record. Now, do most people realize that? Not really. But we do. We know when there's chops missed and when there's licks not there and introductions not done correctly, etc. But as far as the overarching entertainment value, it's still good enough. So for you and I as builders, we've got to understand that when we learn it and how we think about it and then how we execute, just because we don't do it 100%, does that mean we're bad operators? No, it does not. It means we can just get better and we all can get better. Right, the next thing, business management maturity. And this is really where it starts to kick in. Business management maturity. And I would say that this is the difference between me and somebody half my age who's 25, just got a builder's license, is getting into it. It's just the maturity. I can't checklist the crap out of you and make you perfect builder. It's not possible. Now, do some guys do it faster than others? Yes. Do some gals do it faster than others? Yes. But I don't know your situation and I don't know how you take pressure. And it's funny, one of the things that stood out in my mind only yesterday, we got a fairly decent inquiry from that region. And I remember thinking to myself, because we've just done a 7-figure contract and upstairs frame is going on right now. And so we're making some good progress. And I should get some of that on social actually. And what I'm thinking about now is, with this bigger ticket item, and it could be a $250,000 reno, I'd say. It's a full gut. And I'm just wondering the dynamic, because so far so good. Little jobs, things are going okay. But where I'm getting concerned now is when we jump from that level, I don't actually see into my construction manager's level of expertise. Now, when I engaged with my business partner, Jed, I knew a little bit about him because I knew that he built houses up the road from my place. I know that he had a builder's license, so I knew that he'd been in the town for a decade. And I knew some people that knew him that talked to me about him and said he's a good dude. So it's like there's a few things starting to add up. Whereas what I've done is I've recruited some talent down there that I don't have the depth of understanding. Now, one of the things that concerns me is when we get underway, how is he going to respond to deadline pressure? How does he manage other trades? Is he the nice guy that gets pushed around, or can he implement firmness with courtesy from a professional standpoint? So this is why when I sent him a text message this morning, I said, mate, I will help you sell this. And I've definitely changed my tune on the initial welcome email to the clients as far as, hey, this guy is going to be working with you on site, quality control, site management, and I'm going to work in the estimating, pricing, contract administration, project management, and certainly after sales, warranty, etc., workmanship guarantee warranties. So, I have those struggles because I'm not in control of that human. I don't know enough about that human per se from a personal standpoint and a private standpoint. So we're going to talk about, obviously building the person is about your level of leadership. See, and so here I am at my level looking to expand the business, and I need another controlling entity in that region to help me. And so what I don't know enough about certainly is his personal level of leadership, his private level of leadership, and his professional level of leadership. So there is a case whereby I've had meetings and we've discussed certain things, but as opportunities present themselves, i.e., a large renovation, it does start getting me thinking about some of the challenges that we might face. That will then beg the question, Max, what questions are you going to ask to get the answers? So I'm going to need to ask questions about how do you handle this situation? If a drywaller says he's going to rock up or a gyprocker says he's going to rock up on Monday and you can't get a hold of him, what do we do? How do you handle that? What if he gets, what if he's being a messy dog on the job site and you've got to tell him, mate, that drywall's got to go in that drywall bin and he doesn't want to do it? Now, most guys would be reasonable and would comply. But I just need to figure out what's the push and pull and how do because I want him to operate that business, that division of our business, the way that me and Jed would. And that's a challenge because I've done enough in the franchising world to understand that when the pressure's on an individual, they do some pretty smacked up shit. Okay? Right, so business maturity. So maturity, what that will equal structure, clarity, and consistency in leadership. Now, you and I both don't want to follow somebody who's all over the place like a mad woman's breakfast. Now, normally that's because they don't have clarity. They don't have structure in their approach to building and operating a building company, and therefore their leadership is compromised. The quality of their leadership is compromised. Okay, it's not about age. I know enough 52-year-olds that don't like to do business or don't do business well, and they just kind of, meander along. So it's not about, but I know some really good 30-year-old builders who are organized, who've got structure, who've got clarity. Okay, so it's not an age thing, it's an education thing. So we circle back to that. Mature operators focus on systems, delegation, and continual improvement. And I think that's definitely a big part of when I'm dealing with someone, if they're always about understanding systems better, understanding how to delegate better, and certainly how to improve on a continual basis. Those sorts of things when they're talking to me, it certainly starts to resonate in my mind that these people or this person have really got their head screwed on. Right, so continuous learning, I'm shortening stuff here, is your responsibility. Now, let me give you an example. When you start doing what I do, as far as business coaching, as far as putting out this podcast and whatever social media is going on, it forces you to be responsible. So I don't want to be an authority in the construction and coaching world that gets left behind. So you as a building operator, practitioner, technician, owner, you don't want to get left behind either because then you'll stagnate. And when you start stagnating, you start sliding backwards. You've got to continue. And that's why the previous point about continuous learning, it is now your responsibility to be a continuous learner. So once you're in this, it's sort of like there's no going back. Now you can probably stall for 5 minutes and maybe, not be continuously learning and have a bit of a break. But at the end of the day, we have to evolve, okay? The best builders become students first and then experts later. That's usually, I wouldn't say I'm an expert. I'm a bit of an authority, you might say. But it's come from 35 years in the game, operating 2 building companies in 2 countries. Like, it's just come from experience. It's come from just doing it. So being a good student is important. Commit to reading, mentorship, professional development. And look, that really in brackets is called paying the tax, the ignorant tax, if you don't get formal training. And most of us don't because for me, 16-year-old gets an apprenticeship, finishes 20 years of age, moves out of home, gets into some debt, 2 years later gets married. All of a sudden, 6 years later, we've got kids, 20 years later, we've got 6 kids. Shit evolves and there's no time to go back and do that formal training, that which I might do. Like I've got an 18, 19-year-old kid that's now in University of British Columbia. That's the time, living at home, no encumbrances, no big debts, mum and dad pay for a lot of shit. That's the time to be educating. So when you and I get into building and we start becoming a grown-up, trying to find time to carve out to go and actually do more development is a challenge. And so that's where the self-education part's got to kick in, okay? And so that's why business coaching for builders is a thing, right? And so you got to figure out, do I carve out the time and the money to invest in something that is more of a part-time professional development with a business coach like Maxi, or am I going to try and figure out my way through, and more often than not, the tax you'll pay will be over and above that which you might have paid a professional to help you. So that's where, and some guys just don't have the wherewithal financially yet to go and pay for something formal, and I get that. It's why, guys, you get the free podcasts and the free YouTube channels, and then you can next step up. You can maybe go into the EBA Academy where there's 21 modules of information there that are going to help you get some education. It's almost like a mini, MBA, if you like. And then, of course, you can step up to the coaching on demand, EBA coaching on demand, which is a slightly a different sort of structure to full-time coaching. And then, of course, you go to the highest level and you go that route. So growth compounds over time. And this is why you never feel it, see it, or understand it straight away. But in 12 months, 2 years, you look over your shoulder and go, we've developed. I've got EBA clients that see the development. Their confidence has matured. Their financial management has matured. Their ability to systemize and their ability to lead human resources has also improved over time. So what you know today limits what you earn tomorrow. So guys, sow the seed, learn today so that tomorrow you're going to be a better builder. Right? Learn, apply, reflect, and adjust. This is the final point. Learn, apply, reflect, and adjust. Now, it's really, that's fairly practical, right? So, I think we've just got to be careful in what we do. Learning means very little without implementation or execution. We've got to reflect on what's working and what's not. And we've got to adjust our systems, leadership habits for consistent business improvement. So, guys, if you've got any questions, Max Elite Business Advisory, get across to Business for Builders VIP on Facebook. Leave some comments below if you're watching this on YouTube. If you want to chat with me on a coaching call, give you 30 minutes complimentary, get across there, book a consultation. If there's no time in the calendar that suits you, let me know what time zone you're in. Tell me what suits you best via email, and I'll carve out some time to make space for you. Go build a kick-ass business. See you on the next episode. Cheers.